Hello and welcome back. I am DarcyBits. Today we're moving into the black cards of... What did I name this set? Lords of the Rime, Soldiers of Core, and Dragons. Yes, very wordy name. Gotta get all our keywords in there without it seeming too just jamming keywords. Honestly, I think I mentioned this a little bit before. I think probably you should just jam keywords into your deck name. I think it's probably going to make for better decks, but oh well. Anyway, we're just going to jump right into this. If you don't know what this is, hi, I'm Darcy, and this is Urza's AI, random generated cards, talk about them, compile them into a full-on set, which eventually I will make available as a tabletop sim, save file. Anyway, we finished our white and blue last time. We'll see if we can do all of black and red. And last time it took longer than I wanted, so we're going to see if we can pick up the pace. Starting with Elaborate Profusion, a 6-mana, 6/5 black enchantment creature god. Nice. We don't even have god in the deck name anymore, but I think just maybe a lot of gods are like enchantment creatures. So here we are. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may have that creature gain flying until end of turn. That is weird. Is that useful? Okay. Huh. I feel like that is almost never going to be relevant. What? What do you do with this? All will know what you have... All will know what you've done here. All. Gavin Braddock. I think I'm just going to leave this. It's not good, I don't think, but it does, it's a body. You'd probably still play it in limited. I don't know. Let's try it again. As much as I like to see a god, maybe we'll see another one. Rime Slag, a 6-mana, 4/5 creature, enchantment creature elemental. I do like the idea of Rime Slag as an elemental. That's, evocative. It has first strike. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Rime Slag deals 1 damage to that player unless they sacrifice a land. Cool. So pinks for 1. It doesn't even need to have the alternate, hey, you could sack a land. But, I mean, whatever. Cool. That's fun. It's flavorful. This is a much more interesting start. As much as I was interested in seeing gods, it wasn't a very, evocative god anyway. So, yeah, no, this is much better. We did not earn this for ourselves, nor for what our ancestors did. Tristan Drasky, Captain of the Archdruid Order. Oh, it hasn't finished rendering. Oh, no. Is this not going to render? It's still glowing. Ah, crap. No, I like this card. This card's cool. No, there's no way that it's going to finish rendering if it hasn't rendered yet. Sorry, Rime Slag. Cool design, though. Cool design. Blood Horse of Zendikar? What? What? Alright. Blood Horse of Zendikar. This image isn't loaded. What? Is something wrong on my end? Can people still see me? Am I, coming through? This is a mess. This is a mess. Hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoy this mess. Anyway, this is the second take at this, because I messed up and something loaded weird, and I still can't think of any time this is relevant. It's so dumb. Core Blitzer Kaiser. What? What? 6-mana, 4/4, enchantment creature god. Is this not gonna load? Is there something wrong with the site? When Nemesis of Malakir enters the battlefield, if a vampire you control was dealt damage this turn, destroy that vampire. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Yeah, I need your help. The internet can't hear you. You're muted to them, but, can you go to Earth's AI and, like, go check to see if it works? Because it's broken for me. When I roll a card, it will give me everything except for the image, and the image just won't finish, like, it won't load at all. So, and the cards won't finish rendering if there's no images. I wouldn't mind if it just failed to generate images. That wouldn't be such a big deal. But the fact that it won't finish rendering the card otherwise makes it kind of not very good for our purposes. Yeah, it's not going to finish rendering. Okay, so there's something wrong with the site. What? What is happening? Holy crap! It finished rendering! No! What? It's done! Is it fixed, or did it just take a really long time? Next one, Disturbance, 3 mana, Sorcery. I guess it was just a blip. We're good. We're good. Okay. I'm heading off again, B. Bye. Everyone say bye, B. Well, that was weird. Do I keep any of this in the video? So we just, experienced, server stuff, I guess. That took forever to render, and it looked like it wasn't going to, and I got some other one to test if that worked as well, and it seemed like the answer was no, and I was about to type a, like, hey, just so you know, something's down, and then the card finished rendering, so I guess we'll just keep going from here. Alright. Well, that was an eventful start. Core Blitzerkaiser, 6 mana, 4/4, enchantment creature god. When Core Blitzerkaiser enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named Core Blitzerkaiser, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay, so it finds a copy of itself if you're playing in, like, limited or constructed. You can have multiple copies, so that's relevant. It's pretty expensive for that, but it also has black and tap, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. For 6 mana, I don't know if this is good enough, but it finds other copies of itself, so it's kind of like draw a card, except for it's this card, and after you've drawn all 4, you can't keep drawing cards with the last, you can't draw a card with the last one, or if you draw multiple of them before you play it, which is very likely to happen considering it won't come down till late in the game, so not amazing. Then also, it can put a counter on something every turn for only 1, but it's only once a turn, right? It's a tap ability, which isn't so bad, but I think I'm happy to leave it. It's weird and interesting, even though it doesn't seem exceptionally strong to me, but hey, that's for the player base to figure out. How do you break this card? In his hand, he held the Emperor's Book of Judgment, and with it, he judged the world. Okay, so let's talk flavor-wise. Core Blitzerkaiser. This is not a core, but it is a god. So it's like, I don't know how often you see gods with other creature types. Like, I feel like if something becomes a god, it sort of stops being what it was. So maybe this was a core that became a god. That's possible. But also, it's not legendary. So it's like, any core could become a god, maybe. Maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the implications here are. Let's move on. That was wild. Okay. I don't know if me saying that's wild is going to make sense in the edit, because I don't know how much of that's getting kept. It's probably not the most entertaining nonsense. Anyway, Jaheira's Breathwinder is a 3-mana, 3/2 creature elemental with haste. You may cast spells as though they had flash. You may cast any spell you choose with flash as though it had flash. Reminder text is broken, but not inaccurate, so, like, whatever, that's fine. I'm okay with that. This card's cool. Also, Jaheira's relevant, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a blue card that mentioned Jaheira. It was, like, Jaheira's companion, and it was a dragon or something. So that's interesting. We got Jaheira's companion, that's a dragon, and Jaheira's Breathwinder, that's an elemental. This is interesting. The last light dissolves, leaving a hollowed-out shadow of its former self. Did I already read that? I feel like I read that already. This is cool, though. Like, having haste is just nice. Makes the stat line feel pretty reasonable. But then also, just giving everything flash. I don't know what the going rate for you may cast spells as though they had flash. And that's, like, big. It's not like you may cast sorceries, or you may cast enchantments, or you may cast creatures. It's any spell. So that's very powerful, conceptually. Probably too powerful. Which is exactly the way we like it. Let's move on. Unmade Bows is a 3-mana black sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, exiled at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, that's cool. Is this a real card? I feel like I remember there being a card that, like, seems kind of bad unless you have a specific game plan for it. I wonder if I could find that card. I don't remember what it's called. You probably, leave into the comments. But, yeah, I think I do remember this being sort of... I don't know what the stat line is, or if this is cheaper or more expensive, or if it's, like, sorcery instead of instant speed, or what. But it's a very cool effect. It's a cheap resurrection, but it goes away at the end of the turn, which makes it pretty weak, other unless you have a plan for it, which... Cool, great. I like that kind of card. Those cards are fun. To unmake bows is to lay claim to a branch or trunk's potential. I think that's true. Cultivate / swell the mood. I think that the AI, despite the fact that it can't make split cards, it's usually pretty good at coming up with the names of split cards. This one, not so much. This one doesn't feel like a split cards naming convention. For black and black, so a 2-mana black spell, it's an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, reveal a land card from your hand, or pay a generic. That's cool. I'm into that. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Huh. Is that good? I mean, this is basically like a card that's like basic land cycling with no alternate modes. For 2. The idea that it's like, I like this alternate cast cost. That's really interesting of like, you must either reveal a land or pay extra. That's a cool little like, you could take that little modular bit of design and put that into any custom design work. That's really interesting. Otherwise, I don't know. Well, the fact that it lets you choose any basic land you want, it's not like it only gets like swamps or forests or something. Gives it some potential. Yeah, I think I'll allow it. Not the most exciting thing, but that's okay. Sets need those. I need to keep reminding myself that. Cultivate offers hope of an alternative future. For most of history, this world has had only 2 fates. Actually, that's an interesting question. Have we had any split cards, like weird broken split cards, in the set so far? Should I just ban those? I don't think we've seen any yet. If we've already seen one and I allowed it, then it's gonna feel weird to ban them from now on, but I think we haven't. I think I'm gonna ban these like broken split cards. It's just like more interesting, I think. And then we're gonna get one that's like really cool, and I'm gonna feel really bad about banishing by banning it. Banish, black and black, 2-mana black spell. It's an instant. Exile target creature. Create X 1/1 black Phyrexian banishment creature tokens, where X is that creature's mana value. This card's nuts. Holy crap. Do I allow this? It is just straight up the best removal that we've seen. I think it's... You know, actually, I'm not sure if it's the best removal we've seen in the set or not. We've seen some very, very scary things in the set. But it's just really good. They don't have, like, flying or anything, right? No. The idea of banishment as a creature type is really funny to me. And, yeah, we just keep seeing Phyrexians. They keep doing stuff, so I think it's appropriate, flavor-wise. The Phyrexians often explain the self-inflicted punishment as nothing more than acts of devotion. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right, yeah. I'll allow it. I mean, we're in black. They're allowed to have strong removal, right? That's like their thing. You're only doing this because you like to play black, Darcy. You're being... whatever. Playing favorites. Maybe. Brutal Horde-Mancer. Horde-Mancer is really funny. It's a 3-mana Core Soldier. Oh, we got another Core Soldier. Okay, cool. So, just to reiterate, because this is the second video, so maybe it's not something that's super aware, the deck name having Soldiers of Core and Dragons is because we want to see more of those types because they were sort of teased in the first set of the block, but not actualized. So here we are to actualize those themes. And likewise, the plan is that in the third set of the block, we will take something that we saw that didn't get fully explored in this set and work that into the deck for that one, the name for that one. Anyway, 3-mana Star Core Soldier with Vigilance. Brutal Horde-Mancers, power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your hand. Ooh. I like this conceptually. It's very funny. I don't know if it's good. I kind of like that as a way of limiting the power. It's not just equal to the number of cards in your hand, but cards in hand matter. Like, that's fun. That's a cool idea. The only way to do this, I think, as per the rules of Magic, right? Or maybe not as per the rules. I'm not sure if it technically breaks a rule of Magic, but it would break a design convention, which, I mean, AI breaks design convention all the time, so maybe that's not a big deal. But, I feel like the correct way of doing this, in big air quotes around correct, is that it would have to say, like, you play with your hand face up, right? You play with your hand revealed. Because otherwise you can't verify that. You just have to trust me that that I have creature cards in my hand. I don't know how I feel about this. I think I might allow it. Like, it's not something that you'd actually see in Magic, but if you're just playing a casual game with friends, and this is AI Magic, if you're, like, every game is a casual game with friends, just, like, be honest. Like, don't lie to each other, right? Like, you couldn't print this card in actual Magic, but I don't know. I feel like this actually does kind of embody a thing that you can only do in custom Magic, so why not take advantage of that fact? Heedlessly he dances through the streets of Zalfir, the vengeance-gorging Malachite Phoenix, as if dancing on the bones of his enemy. I'm sorry, what about the vengeance-gorging Malachite Phoenix? I want to know about that card. That card's cool. Very, very cool. Marasa Gilded Craswell, okay? Named like a legendary creature, not a legendary creature. Is a 6-mana, black, 5/5 Spirit Knight. Ooh. We saw a Spirit Knight earlier. I feel like maybe it didn't get stick. Maybe it got rerolled. I did like the idea of the sort of the spirits from the last set are now, like, being more militarized. It has flying, and whenever you gain life, Marasa Gilded Craswell deals 2 damage to any target. That is great. It's another life gain payoff, which is a... Life gain was a theme of the previous set, but there wasn't a ton of payoff for it, so I think that that's really nice. 6-mana 5/5 flyer that with an upside. Yeah, nice. Very good. I am Gilded Craswell, Lord of Yore and Bane of Orin. Now stand and fight. Yeah, flavor-wise, Marasa Gilded Craswell feels very, very, very much like it is a legendary, but it's not. And we've previously seen sort of non-legendary cards with legendary style names. I think we've sort of thought about how it could be something more like a faction or something, right? Like this is a Marasa Gilded Craswell as opposed to a you know, like a Golgari Gilded Crosswell or whatever. Weird way of wording it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Smite is a 2-mana enchantment. Okay, didn't expect that, but okay. As long as you control a black or red creature, black and red crossover payoff, that's something we've seen before. As long as you control a black or red creature, creatures you control gain. Whenever this creature attacks, you may put target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That's stupid. That's a stupid card. I think that's where I cross. Yeah, I think I draw the line at this one. I do love very strong cards that are silly because the AI does that and it's fun. But no, I don't think so. I mean, if this just said as long as you control a red creature, no, that would still be really strong. But it would be a lot more limiting of what decks you could put it in. But not any more limiting than if it was like a... Creatures you control, all creatures you control, have when it attacks, put something from the graveyard. Anyone's graveyard. It doesn't have to be your graveyard. Oh, just say your. It says your graveyard. It says from your graveyard. Okay. Still. No. I'm re-rolling this. It's so cool, though. It bears the mark of power. Tack on some cost. Like, this card would be cool if it cost, like, 6 or 7 mana. Ambuscade is a 2-mana enchantment aura, which looks like it might not finish rendering. Come on, finish rendering. I might just wait this one out, considering last we got a little control over here. A Goblin Runner, a 2-mana, 2/1 Goblin. When Goblin Runner enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Nice. Like, the actual, like, you know, majority of the card is fine. It's just about the image rendering. Okay, we got an image coming through for our control over here. That one finished. And Ambuscade is here. Okay. Okay, we had a little difficulty rendering, but it finished, so that's great. Where were we? Ambuscade, 2-mana black enchantment aura, enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, exile it. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Huh. Kind of interesting. This would be more interesting if it replaced dying, right? Like, when enchanted creature would die, exile it instead would be much more interesting because it would avoid death triggers, right? So you could play it on something your opponent has and you go, all I'm scared about is when that thing dies, something terrible is going to happen, so I can stifle that effect, and then I get a 2/2. Why not? Now, it still stops it from doing anything weird that where it's like, okay, return it from the graveyard, right? Like, this still has a use case, because you could put it on something that otherwise you want to exile the card in the graveyard, right? Like, it's something that when it dies, it returns to the battlefield at the end of the next turn or something like that. Whatever, or you can cast it again from the graveyard. Things like that. Definitely there's a use case. It's a very weird and narrow use case, but I think I'm okay with it. I like narrow use case. I think those are fun. Even now you wait for death, the scourge of your kind. Why should you ever stop? Niv Mizzet. What would be really cool is if you could somehow find a way to make this card beneficial for targeting your own stuff. Like, I don't think that's a thing, but the idea of like a card that has a when this is triggered, like when this is exiled effect, would be really interesting. Do those exist? I feel like those should exist. That'd be fun. But the idea is that like here, it's a very weird niche use case, but it's reliant on your opponent. It's not a weird use case that you can build around. It's I don't know. Maybe it's not that relevant. I guess it's like a sideboard card. I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna keep it. Like I said before, I need to really move faster. Curse of Naya. Ooh, a curse. It's not a curse, though. It's a shame. Honestly, the AI is great at making curses. You should try putting Curse of Blank in as just like a card name in the normal card maker. Great way to get making enchantments consistently. Curse of Naya is a 3-mana black sorcery. Destroy target creature with flying. Its controller creates a 3/3 black zombie creature token with flying. No, I don't think so. Like, even if you're targeting your own things, that's like sacrifice a creature to make a 3/3 for 3. Like, well, actually, when I say that out loud, that's like not terrible. I might play a 3-cost 3/3 flyer that says additional cost sacrifice a creature. But if it said sacrifice a creature with flying, it would be a lot worse. Also, this would be a lot better if it was an instant. Because if it's an instant, then you could still use it strategically to be like, oh, I really want to make sure something doesn't happen on your opponent's turn. You know, they're attacking with the flyer. Even though they're going to get a 3/3, it can't attack because attackers have already been... whatever. I think I'm going to re-roll this one. I should stop belaboring the point. I know where the worst have been sent. Chapave on his secret projects. Okay. Seek Power is a 3-mana black sorcery. Destroy target land. Seek Power deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. This is a cool card design. I think I'm banning all land destruction in this set just to be nice and easy. But otherwise, it's a pretty cool design. Anything without flying gets pinged for 1. That could, remove a lot of stuff early game. Also, destroys a land. Like, it's a very nice card. I like this card. But I will be re-rolling it for the sake of the set. Warfare should be bloody and spectacular. I only ask that it end in our own bloody and spectacular victory. Ravnican, King of Kor. What? Wait, the King of Kor's name is Ravnican? It's not canon. Anything that's re-rolled isn't canon. Awaken the Sun, that's a great name, is a 3-mana black sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Okay, that's just like straight up a real card. What is the going rate for that effect? Any non-land card. I'm going to look this up, actually, because there is some discard payoff in Gods of Winter, the previous set in the block, so seems reasonable, but I'm curious what the going rate for this effect is. Worth mentioning, I say this all the time, I think it's worth repeating, is that just because there's a better card that exists does not mean that you can't print a card like this. Sometimes you just need to fill out the commons, and it's okay for them to be weaker, and blah, 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 stuff like that. We found literally the same card. Dark Inquiry is just actually a 3-mana black sorcery that says target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. It's just straight up a real card that exists. Which is, like, boring. It's not, like, an interesting thing to do, but, like, I want to see the AI cards come up with something new because it's interesting, but functional reprints are a thing. They exist in Magic. Why can't they exist in my set? Also, you're not going to be playing with Dark Inquiry in AI Magic. You're not going to mix your real Magic and your AI Magic, probably. You could. I've done it before. It's fun. But, you're probably not going to. So, yeah, no, this card's perfectly fine. Slaughter to Prevail. The danger is too great. Let me in. Koth of the Hammer. I recognize the name Koth. I don't know who they are. Not really, at least. Triton's Chosen is a 7-mana... There's so many expensive cards in this set. 7-mana, black, 5/5 dragon with flying. Whenever Triton's Chosen attacks, you may create a 5/5 blue and red dragon creature token with flying and indestructible. Great. Yeah, I'll spend 7 mana for that. Or, more accurately, probably resurrect this thing for like 3 mana or something. Cool. Great. When Triton banished Kor's rebels, the merfolk fled in fear, but one woman survived. Okay, wait, so we're getting some story here. Triton, are they a god? That seems like a thing that might be, or maybe they're not, maybe they're like a king or something. But Triton's Chosen is a dragon. That implies there's somebody like bigger than a dragon, or maybe they're a dragon. Maybe there's a dragon named Triton. I don't know. But, dragons working for dragons. That makes sense. And they banished Kor's rebels. I'm not sure who the Core's rebels are. Are they rebelling against Core, or are they a contingent of Core that rebel against the dragons? Rebel, not rebel. The merfolk fled in fear. Okay, so the Core got banished. The merfolk, who are not Core, were like, we're getting out of here. We don't want to get banished. And then the woman survived. Who is that woman? I don't know. Is it Shahira? We have 2 cards about Shahira. Cool. All right, no, that's rad. Let's keep going. Surge of Supremacy is a 1-mana black instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap them. Okay, so we've actually seen a lot of effects like this, like either just give +1/+1 to all your creatures, or untap your creatures, or do both of those things. I think we've seen this exact text on cards before. 1 mana seems really cheap for that effect. I don't know. It seems really cheap for that effect. What I wanted from my early years was power. What I wanted from my years of learning is wisdom. What I wanted from my years of war is peace. Volrath, the Soul Trader. I'm tempted just to keep this card. It's a scary good card, but it's not going to win the game on its own. It needs to have a board support it. It's definitely too strong. It's definitely too strong. It's definitely too strong. But it's got good flavor text, so, you know. I think I'll keep this card and regret it later. Steel Wind is a 4-mana black 3/3 enchantment creature spirit. I do love an enchantment creature spirit. Whenever Steel Wind attacks, if defending player controls an island, Steel Wind gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it's a 4-mana 5/5 if you're playing against blue. Otherwise, it's a 4-mana 3/3. This card's stupid. I don't like it. When Core disrupted his son's apprenticeship, I think the AI hasn't decided what Core is, so it's just like different every time. Every time we talk about Core, it's like sometimes it's a race of people, sometimes it's a country, sometimes it's a person. Sure. When Core disrupted his son's apprenticeship, it revealed a corruption so deep that he might not survive the task. Now I'm gonna roll this again. I don't like it. I don't like it. Sigard's Meddler, that's a great name, is a 4-mana 3/2 enchantment creature goblin artificer. Okay, we haven't seen many goblins, but there's a few creeping in here and there. Nice. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a card from your hand face down. At the beginning of your end step, you may reveal cards you own face down. If you do, put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order. I was like so excited that it was actually going somewhere. I was like, wait a minute. Not only can you exile a card from your hand face down, you also get to look at them later? They're like, it's relevant? No, it's not relevant. But I do want to talk about this effect. I don't know what the proper wording would be for this effect, but it's a really interesting design idea of like, on your upkeep, take a card from your hand, exile it, face down, kind of like foretelling, right? You could foretell something for free, and then at the beginning of your end step, you may do something with that. And the idea of like mind games of like, I get to do this thing, but in like a weird, like, it would have to be some effect that maybe there was something to do with like, on your end step, if your opponent did X. That would be a cool way of doing it, actually. Okay. Here's the idea. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a card from your hand face down. At the beginning of your end step, if your opponent... Maybe it wouldn't make sense because your opponent wouldn't be doing much during your turn. I don't know. Maybe it's the beginning of your upkeep the next turn? I don't know. Anyway, I can't think of... I'm not going to figure out the fancy wording. The point is, there's 3, like, conditions, and it's like, if your opponent did X, you may reveal a face-down sorcery and cast it for free. If your opponent did Y, you may reveal a face-down creature and play it for free, etc., right? They have, like, different conditions, so it's like your opponent is going to get punished for doing certain actions, but if you don't have that type of thing face down, then it doesn't... They can do it without being punished. And then you, like, exile every card that you have face down at the end of the turn or something. Like you exile everything, or, like, you turn up every card, and they stay in exile, and then you exile a new card face down, and then that's the card that you can... Anyway, this card's not even rendering, so, like, well, it looks like we're broken again, which sucks. I was really hoping that this would finish. This is a mess. Hi, YouTube. I'm just gonna re-roll this and see what happens. There's a very good chance this won't render. Oh, and it looks cool, too! Nyxborn Dawnwaker is a 4-mana 3/3 enchantment creature zombie dragon. Yes! Let's go! As Nyxborn Dawnwaker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control is the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may pay generic. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Unfortunately, the first sentence doesn't do anything. But other than that, this card is cool. It's a zombie dragon that makes dragons. Or, not dragons, it makes zombies. That's what I meant to say. This card's rad. This card's super cool. And it's probably not going to finish rendering. Isn't that... Well, I'm going to do my usual take a look at a normal card, because every time I've done this it's worked, so I'm going to keep doing it. See what happens. I don't know why it would help, but it's worked every time so far. Mirror Image is a 1-mana blue instant. Target creature becomes the color of your choice until end of turn. That is very specific. That is rarely useful, if ever. But it's rendering. Oh. Is it gonna render? Is it gonna render? No, okay. Yeah, Mirror Image finished rendering. Just completely finished. Just actually finished. Not an error at all. Well, we just generated another card in the other tab, and it rendered fine, so... I think that's a good sign this is not going to finish. Goodbye, Nyxborn Dawnwaker. You're cool. Very, very cool. Radiant Rune Eaters is a 4-mana 3/2 enchantment creature spirit. Whenever you cast a creature spell, Radiant Rune Eaters gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Radiant Rune Eaters gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Oh, alright. It would actually be kind of fun if this, like, got bigger if you made cast creatures, but then, like, smaller if you cast an instance or something. Like, that would have been really interesting. It just gets a bigger benefit for creatures and a lesser benefit for other spells. Still a cool card, though. Like, very cool. And it's not going to render. I'm going to refresh the tab again, see if that helps. This time, I'm not going to forget to do the thing. So, we're back. Josiah's being a little finicky tonight, but, you know, that happens. It's like a passion project. This isn't some big professional thing. No offense to the creators, of course, either. Like, they do a very professional job with what they're doing, but it's still, like, you know, not someone's job, right? It's a passion project. Anyway, we're rolling still wind here. Our 4-mana black creature. Glory be to Rarayad. Okay, that's a fun naming convention for a god. It is a 4-mana 4/4 enchantment creature god with flash. As Glory be to Rarayad, Riyadh enters the battlefield, choose a color. As long as Glory be to Riyadh is your commander, you may cast spells of the chosen color without paying their mana cost. What? Maybe the most broken card we've seen. That's so funny. So, if you don't know, like, Commander is a format in Magic where you have one of your cards nominated as your commander at the start of the game, and they are in a special zone called the Command Zone. You can cast them from there. there's attacks if, sorry, I should say, if they ever leave play, they just go into your command zone again, so you can build around that card and reliably have access to it. It's very cool. If they need to get cast from the command zone multiple times, there's an extra cost of mana. Point is, in Commander, the color of your commander affects what cards are allowed to be in your deck. So if Glory Be to Ra-Riad was your commander, you would only be allowed to have black cards in your deck anyway. So it just would make your entire deck free. Because you'd be playing mono black. This would be like maybe a little interesting if you were playing like if it was like a 5-color commander, because you'd be sort of forced to play 5 colors, at least enough to like get the mana to play Glory Be to Ra-Riad in the first place. Even then, it's stupid broken. As long as this is your commander, you may cast spells of the chosen color without paying their mana cost. That's so stupid. Our homeland is a piece of Vierland we claim as our own. Ra-Riad, minion of Vorath. Well, it's not canon, and it finished rendering, so that's a good sign that things are going to actually function for the rest of today. Let's see if it works. Steadfast Hearthguard is a 4-mana, black, 2/3 enchantment creature, Minotaur Cleric. Ooh, that's cool, and it just barely fits. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, Steadfast Hearthguard gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Huh. The until end of turn portion of that makes it probably less relevant. What's cool is that it's not just like when Steadfast Hearthguard gets targeted. It's like anything getting targeted buffs it, as long as you control it. But, it'd be hard to make this relevant. But yeah, it's a Minotaur and a Cleric. Those might be relevant creature types. It's kind of cool. And I don't want to spend too much time. I've said this before. I'll say it again. This has been a mess of a night, so let's just keep pushing on. Heal the injured, light the darkness, and leave nothing for death to claim. Leave nothing for death to claim. I don't know what that means. Does that mean they're already dead? Dust of Dreams is a 7-mana, black instant. Target player discards 2 cards. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. I mean, there's discard payoff, but for 7 mana, I don't think so. The -1's pretty cool, but not like at 7 mana, you're not running into a lot of 1/1s probably. You're probably looking. I mean, it would just destroy a board of like, 21/1 tokens or something, but still. Here we have hope for our future, and yet there is fear. Venerable Tuon. Let's try again. Spatial Extortion. 7 mana, black, instant. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn, draw a card. And then I summoned you to attack me. Oro Mokto Marauder Toymaker. Just kind of blasted through that card so I could reroll it as soon as possible. Eviscerate. Yeah, we're gonna lightning round this one. Eviscerate. 7 mana, black, instant. Eviscerate deals 5 damage to any target. All creatures get -5/-5 until end of turn. Okay! This has potential. It's still very expensive because we're making a 7 mana instant. It's very hard for a 7 mana instant to not be very, very, very expensive. Yeah. They're like when you're investing that much mana into something that's not a permanent, it's hard for that to be worth it. But this one looks pretty good, actually, right? 5 damage to one thing, then -5 to everything, which means it can go face, which might be relevant sometimes. But it means it can kill a 10/10, which is cool. It's usually good enough to just be a Wrath, but if something's really big, you can still. I guess that's the question, right? Like, how often is this going to be more useful than just a normal Wrath? I should say again, I'm trying to get better about explaining cards as I go when I'm referring to real Magic, because I know that not everybody plays real Magic. But Wrath is a sort of community term for a card that just universally like kills everything on the board, right? Destroys all creatures generally, and then there's, there's variants of that, and that's because there's Wrath of God is the original. And this like I think a 5 mana effect, destroy all creatures, they cannot be regenerated, that sort of thing. So you're paying more than that, and it might not even kill them, because if they're bigger than 5/5, they don't die, except for the one that you've targeted with the deal 5 damage portion. That said, if your things are bigger than 5/5, your stuff survives. So if you are building like a big black deck where everything is like 6 and plus in toughness, that might be relevant. You might turn this into a one-sided, and a one-sided Wrath, of course, is more expensive than a mono direct, like a full Wrath. But if that's the case, just like make this a one-sided Wrath at that point, right? I don't know. I'm really hoping that if I like, filibuster long enough, this card will finish rendering, and it's not looking likely. This video is cursed. This video is cursed. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll keep it just because it's so hard to get expensive instants that make a functional card that's relevant. Like, we'll be here spinning forever if we don't keep something like this. And I think it's good enough in a lot of situations. Like, yeah. It's too expensive, but what you gonna do? Well, this card's not finishing. There's a very good chance it's not going to finish. So let's just move on, and if we have to do this in the next video, fill out any of the gaps that don't get finished, that don't finish rendering today, that's okay. We can do that. We've done that in previous videos when cards don't finish rendering. It's not a big deal. So let's move on. And maybe we'll get an even cooler card. Goblin Raider is a 2-mana, 2/1 black orc. As an additional cost to cast the spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Huh, that's like not... Yeah, that's pretty okay. A cheap body that can have a +1/+1 to all your creatures effect is scary. But this has a cost to it. And I think the cost largely isn't exiling a creature card from your graveyard. That's usually not a big deal. It's having a card in your graveyard, right? It means that you're not going to probably play this on turn 2 because nothing is in your graveyard yet, right? That's a big deal. And the fact that it has to be a creature card means you're not just playing like an instant and then playing Goblin Raider afterwards. I guess Goblin Raider isn't a goblin. They're an orc who is raiding goblins. Is that the idea? Maybe? Goblins like plunder, so make sure to dig them out of their holes. Makes sense. No, I quite like this. It is going to be at bare minimum a 3/2 for 2, so it's very strong, but I think it's a legitimate drawback. I like it. I like the card. I'm going to move on. Thresher Scout. Oh, interesting. This is a core scout. So far, with their name of, as we've said previously, Soldiers of Core, etc., we've seen a number of core, and they've all been soldiers, I think. This is our first non-soldier core. Thresher Scout is a 4-mana, 2/2 core scout ally. I like that, especially if we don't see that many core outside of... I mean, we have been seeing core outside of white and stuff. Like, they're in all the colors in this set, which makes sense. I do like the idea of them being like an ally. They're like maybe not normally attuned to black, but they're here to be an ally. That's interesting. I don't know if that's what it's going to work or not, but that's... Yeah. For 2 mana, they have an activated ability. Oh, and they have to be sacrificed. Destroy target artifact. This card sucks, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, 4 mana for a 2/2 that can blow up an artifact if you sack it. So it's like a 4 mana destroy artifact effect, but you get a 2/2 before you do that if you want it. I don't know. Core spies told of a once glorious temple of nature, yet they never found it. Well, let's see what happens if we try and re-roll this one, because it hasn't been going well tonight. So let's find out. Swampborn Invader, it's rendering, is a 4-mana, 4/4 ogre. As Swampborn Invader enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, create a 1/1 black shapeshifter creature. This card's great! Oh, this card's perfect, actually. It actually, like, functions. It's 4 mana for a 4/4. Cool. You name a specific creature type, and then you get rewarded for casting that creature type, but it's not, like, a ridiculous payoff. It's just an extra 1/1. It's beautiful. Also, I like the idea that it's a shapeshifter. That's fun. Because, like, maybe it's kind of like... It's not like actually... It doesn't have changeling or anything. It doesn't count as creature types. It's not like it counts as... Could you print a card that said, like, create a 1/1 creature of the chosen type? Probably not, right? Probably the rules don't support that. There are no endings in her. There are only beginnings. I like this card. This card's really cool. Alright, since I finished rendering, I'm going to actually quickly scoot up and see if the other one finished rendering or not. What was it called? Eviscerate finished rendering! Woo! Okay, cool. We don't have to reroll that later. That's nice. Still, like, really too expensive for the effect, but... Whew, you gotta call the line somewhere. Call the line? Draw the line? You know what I mean. Anyway, back to where we were. Ooh. Weird rendering effect, but it's legible. Aerial Precincts. An aerial precinct is funny. 4 mana, 3/2, Elemental Warrior. Cool. It has flying, okay. As long as you control a non-land permanent with flying, such as itself, you may cast spells from your graveyard. Okay, ignoring the, like, you know, redundancy aspect of this, unless a card stops us from having flying, I guess that's technically possible, blah, blah, blah. As long as you, so, like, let's just read it as 4 mana, 3/2 with flying, you may cast spells from your graveyard. I mean, that's busted. It's busted. It's busted. It's busted. It's not even like you may cast spells from your graveyard when you do exile that spell when it, like, next goes to the grave, like, right? Like, it just means you can, like, infinitely cast your instants, because they'll go into the graveyard again, then you cast them, then they go into your graveyard again, then you cast them. So, unfortunately, like, it's such a cool effect. I'd love to see a balanced version of that effect sometime. I wonder if that exists. I guess there's that one that has, like, all your cards have flashback, right? Like, Lear. Lear does that, I think. It's a blue card. Yeah. The strongest forts are built upon foundations of death. I guess. Hello? Okay. Conclave Commando, that's a great name, is a 4 mana, 2/2 vampire soldier. Whenever Conclave Commando attacks, if you attacked with 2 or more creatures with total power 6 or greater... Huh. So usually total power means, like, you add up the different creatures that you attacked with and then their total power. But it says... I guess what it's saying is... if only one creature attacks, and even if that creature has total power, you'd still add them up, right? It's not like 2 creatures each individually have to have total power of 6 or greater. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate. Whenever Conclave Commando attacks, if you attacked with 2 or more creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, put a 1/1 counter on Conclave Commando. That's a pretty strict, like, restriction to get that payoff. It is potentially quite a powerful payoff. Like, we know that that's a powerful effect, just getting stronger every single turn. Yeah, I think it's probably fine. It's weird, and I would need a judge to make sure that it functions the way I think it does, but I'm okay with that. Motion does not apply to us. If we see a spike, we hammer it down. Teferi said that. Eruption of Rage is a 4 mana sorcery. Destroy all artifacts and creatures. Okay, this is a wrath, but it's better than most wraths because it's actually hitting artifacts in addition to creatures. Am I okay with this? I mean, especially having that 7 mana in the same colors makes me not want to have this in the set, but I mean, it's good. What's the flavor text say? Destroy all of creation. It is but a pale reflection of the full power of Mishra. Lothar Solde. I don't know if, even though this is obviously stronger than proper magic, at least most of the time. Maybe there's a card that rivals this in strength as far as like this exact effect. I'm not sure. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like so overpowered it's like unprintable in AI in this set. Let's see another take. Why not? We're here to see cards. Obliterate. Okay. Is a 4-mana sorcery, destroy target creature. No, that's not it. These birds don't bother to hide their hate. The warrior mobs here would rather make the Alliance their enemy than the Brotherhood of Shadow. Uka, the listener. And it also wasn't rendering. Are we gonna get stuck in a non-rendering cycle again? Aggravate. That's a real card? That sounds like a real card. Aggravate is a 4-mana sorcery. Each player discards 2 cards. Huh. That might be relevant, actually. It's not target removal, but or not targeted discard, but it's 2 cards at a time. It hits you as well as a drawback, but maybe you can turn it into an upside. I like this card. The voice of annihilation will settle for nothing less than complete and utter ruin. Bishop Marek, Soldiers of Kor. Oh! I finished rendering. That's awesome. Cool. I was not thinking it was going to. Nice. We got there. Eyes of Nell is a 3-mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, draw a card. Boo! Fear not death, nor death fear you. Spire Record. Dagger of Inferno is a 3-mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life unless you sacrifice Dagger of Inferno. What? Unless you, like, want to do damage to yourself for some reason. What? Maybe it kind of protects a creature because your opponent doesn't want to kill the creature? Like, I have no idea what the use case for this is. Which makes me want to keep it. Like, it's the kind of card that makes me go, is there a way to make that relevant? Like, maybe you want to be pinging yourself for 2 every turn because you have something that cares about, like, when you take damage, do a thing. Like, I don't know, maybe. The flames of a hell-harvested land could kill all the white... The what? No, kill all the while providing... Could kill all... No, I don't know if the grammar makes sense here. The flames of hell-harvested land could kill all the while providing... could kill all the while providing... Yeah, that makes sense. All the while providing sustenance to the vast maw of Kor. Now Kor sounds like a dragon. Which I'd be kind of into Kor being a dragon, which is also a country. And then, like, the Kor live on this dragon named Kor. That's kind of awesome, actually. We should make that happen. I'm gonna keep it. I don't think it's good, but, like, I'd love to see someone make it good, and those are my favorite cards, so. Let's see what we can do. Gotta have some oddballs here and there. Vivid Volcano Dragon is a 3-mana, 2/1 enchantment creature dragon. It has flying. Enchanted creature. It's not that kind of enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. For black and black, Vivid Volcano Dragon gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only during your upkeep. All lives flow together like lava in a volcano. I do want to say before I reroll this card, I think that there's potential. Like, if this card said enchanted creature gets +1/+1, blah, blah, blah. Like, if the card still, like, was a fine functioning card, despite that line, I think I'd still keep it because, I mean, in theory, it might be possible to attach this enchantment creature to something. That would be weird if it was possible, but, like, I don't know, maybe it's a thing that you can do. Maybe there's a fringe situation where that's relevant, and that'd be kind of cute. But the card itself not really doing much relevant is, yeah. Oh, actually, this might be relevant. Sorry. For some reason, I thought the activated ability was, like, activate only once per turn and only during your upkeep. Huh. So this isn't good, right? 3 mana, 2/1 flyer. It has sort of like a fire breathing effect, but it's expensive. It costs 2 for +2/+2. Cool. Not expensive in that it's too expensive for the effect. It's just that you have to pay it 2 at a time, which is sometimes relevant, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. The fact that you can only do it at upkeep is a big, big deal, right? It means you have to sort of telegraph that you're going to be doing this at the beginning of your turn, and you can't do it as a blocking situation, right? You can't do it in response to your opponent attacking. I think I'm gonna re-roll this card, but it's kind of it's not the most useless card. Possibly even very strong. I don't know. Mistform Chimera, that sounds cooler though, is a 3 mana 2/2 enchantment creature shapeshifter. It has Changeling. This card has every creature type. Hey! I haven't seen that on an AI card in a while. Nice. For black and black, Mistform Chimera gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Okay, so here's the weird thing, right? The other card had flying. The other card was getting +2/+2 instead of +1/+1. But the fact that you could only do it during your upkeep was such a massive drawback, because this you can attack with it. If your opponent doesn't block, you can, you know, jam. You could pump them to do more damage, or you could say, I don't need to pump them because I'm not worrying about dying. If something tries to, like, kill this, you could pump it in response to have, you know, take the lightning bolt and not die, that kind of stuff. Like, on paper, this should be worse than the other card, but I think it's much better and much more playable. And it's just more interesting because, like, changelings are weird and cool. A creature's blood runs thick with all things core. Athis Dictat. Okay. Deadshot Talid. Okay, I think Talids are like a weird fungus thing, but sure. Deadshot Talid is a 7 mana 2/2. Also, I think most people pronounce them Thalids. I have no idea which is correct. I call them Talids. Anyway, it's a 7 mana 2/2 orc warrior with, for generic and black, Deadshot Talid gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Okay, so while the other card, I think 2 mana for +1/+1 is okay, not with a 7 mana overhead. Talids fight so you don't have to. Zol, Baron of Outrider Keep. Alright. Field-tested nukers. Wait, what? I don't know about this. Field-tested nukers is a 7 mana star elemental with death touch. Okay. Field-tested nukers, power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. That is potentially quite a lot, but I think we've already seen cards in this set that have that same stat-defining characteristic. That's much cheaper to get on the battlefield. So, probably not good enough. Tap, target creature gets -2/-0. So, yeah. They don't hit as hard. You're not going to kill anybody with it. Taps out your potentially quite large creature. Nah. Let's try this again. I am excited to see a 7 mana card, though. Like, as much as a 7 mana instant is really hard to make good, a 7 mana creature is not too hard to make good, so I'm holding out hope this will be cool. Sometimes we had to turn the course of battle, not because we liked it, but because we had no choice. Nitzam Gul the Urdokan. Okay. Guardian Overseer is a 7 mana 5/4 human wizard. When Guardian Overseer enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more non-land permanents with total power 10 or greater, draw a card. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Sure. What? I don't know why that's so funny to me. It's just like such a bland effect for such a like specific Oh, that's funny. You control 2 or more non-land permanents with total power 10 or greater. Draw a card. It wouldn't actually be that hard to like do because this thing's 5 power should contribute to that, but still not exciting. For its first sight, we admire, then understand, and finally forgive. Yamani tribal saying. Yeah. So I'm not gonna wait for this to give me an image. Clearly struggling. Might as well move on. Grudge Slinger is a 7 mana 3/3 ogre warrior. When Grudge Slinger enters the battlefield, if white was spent to cast it, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Cool effect, right? But not like good for this cost. He found one useful application. That's funny. Thunderous Sloth is a 7 mana 5/6 dinosaur. I'm kind of into that. I think Sloth is weirdly a creature type if I'm not mistaken. But the idea of like, you know, one of those like ancient giant mega sloths being sort of coded as a dinosaur, that kind of checks out in my brain, right? I mean, dinosaurs are mostly mythology at this point anyway. Why not have that count as a dinosaur? First strike, whenever Thunder Sloth attacks, if defending player has a commander, draw a card. Okay. I mean, I don't know what the going rate for a 5/6 first striker is. But I think I'd pay 7 mana for that in certain games. Not necessarily every game, but sometimes I think I would. And if you're playing commander, you get to draw a card if you attack a player with a commander on the battlefield. That's fun. It does say if defending player has a commander. I don't know whether or not that just means like if you're playing commander, or if that means like they have to. It doesn't say controls a commander, so I think it just. I don't think it cares. I think that you get it as long as you're playing commander. You get that effect, which is a very funny thing. But okay, yeah. Card is stronger in commander. Maybe there's an interesting balance, you know, reason for that. Obviously not like the AI doesn't know how to balance things, but I mean conceptually I'm curious if that is something that a designer would tell me like, actually yeah, that's a smart thing to do for some reason. Maybe the stat line is just not good enough in commander because there's 3 enemies. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't look like it's going to finish rendering, so let's move on. We'll see if it renders later. We'll come back and take a look at it. Explosive Rebuttal. I feel like I already saw this card. Explosive Rebuttal is a 3 mana black instant. This spell can't be countered. This spell can't be countered. That blasted corpse doesn't have to take it lying down. Lintula, the Shadow Thief. Well, let's see if this card renders properly. With the other one still trying to... That said rage at first. Okay. And it finishes rendering. Okay, before we read this, I'm just going to go up real quick. Thunderous Sloth. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool card. Yeah? Look at that Thunderous Sloth dinosaur thing. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Alright. Where were we? Urgent Cooperation is a 3 mana black instant. Choose target creature. Urgent Cooperation deals damage to that creature equal to the number of creatures you control. Cool? I mean, we're in black. We have just straight up destroy spells, so it feels kind of silly, but sometimes that's relevant, I think, maybe. Probably not. Like, if this gave, like, -1/-1 until end of turn, then it would maybe be relevant, because it would get around, like, indestructible. That said, I did keep a 2 mana exile card in black, so... You know... but I don't think that's a good enough reason to not play this, right? Like, sometimes you use a weaker version of another effect that exists because you're playing limited and this is the one you drew. Like, that's okay. Or opened. Those who look on may turn to stone, and those who touch may be maimed. Let us help one another, and we shall never go without. Narok, Sukata, Archmage. Did we already see Sukata? That sounds familiar. Maybe. Assembled Ancestry is a 2-mana, 2/2 human warrior, an enchantment creature human warrior. Assembled Ancestry. That's a cool flavor. Like, before I even read what the card does, like, why is this human warrior an enchantment creature? It's because it's like Ancestry is like assisting it spiritually speaking, right? I think that checks out. Assembled Ancestry can't attack or block unless you control a commander. There's a lot of commander cards in here right now. I wonder if something got changed in the code recently. This is weird. For generic and black, regenerate Assembled Ancestry. I don't think this card's interesting enough. Also, the fact that it can't do anything unless you're playing commander, like, it's just not appropriate for a standard set like this. In times past, we were all family, all related by blood. Our genealogies would know one another. Our battles would all be joined together. Amran of Anhava. Weird. Hekma Gatekeeper is a 2-mana, 2/1 enchantment creature nymph. When Hekma Gatekeeper enters the battlefield, if you control a gate, create a 2/2 black Phyrexian germ creature token. That's really fun. I don't think we're going to see any gates in this set, and I mean, definitely, I guess not definitely, it's technically possible, but not likely. That's very cute, though. Just the Gatekeeper. If you control a gate, you get a benefit. I'm not going to keep this card, but yeah, that's fun. Alright, let's try again. Faceless Lurker. Okay, cool. Is a 2-mana, 2/2 enchantment creature Phyrexian Horror. Alright. We got this nice list of cards from a different card game here. I don't know what card game that is. That looks cool. I want to play that card game. Faceless Lurker is a 2-mana, 2/2 Phyrexian Horror enchantment creature. When Faceless Lurker enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is a 2-mana, 2/2 that draws a card sometimes, but it's like draws the best creature from the top 4, because you get to choose. If there's no creatures, it whiffs, but otherwise you get to sort of, it's better than draw a card sometimes. Yeah, I like this card. It's a little bit like, it feels like it should have a more interesting effect based on all the like flavor, like enchantment creature, Phyrexian Horror. It draws a card, but no, it's a really solid 2-drop. Honestly, if you understand its creeping terror, no, I like this card a lot actually. Really solid 2-drop. Turn 2, play this. Look at the top 4 cards. Find like a 3-drop or a 4-drop. Nice. Yeah, solid. Master of Ethereum. Oh, hello. 3-mana, 3/2 creature elemental warrior. Protection from dragons. Yeah, okay, cool. Master of Ethereum's power and toughness are each equal to the number of dragons you control. But it's a 3/2. But it's a 3/2. I've never seen the AI make that mistake before. I've only ever seen it have Star when it has the defined stat line. Master of Ethereum can attack as though it didn't have Defender as long as you control a dragon. It doesn't have Defender, though. I kind of like this card. Like, it's weird that it has, its stat line is 3/2, but, like, I think that the text, Master of Ethereum's power and toughness are each equal to the number of dragons you control, overrides its printed value. I believe. So, even though that's like a printing error, if you will, I don't think it makes the card illegal. It's just weird. I think. I'd have to ask a judge. I need to meet some judges. I should get my brother on this show. He's not a judge, but he one time talked about maybe becoming one. That's good enough for me. Anyway. It's got a lot. Like, if you don't control any dragons, it's not even a 1/1, it's a 0/0 and just dies. You probably won't have too many dragons, but if you did, it could get kind of big, which is kind of fun. And it puts protection from dragons, which are a relevant, creature type in the set. I think this card's really cool. Truly, there is no glory like that of one who is admired for their tenacity in the face of certain death. Alderax, Elder Bronze Dragon. Also, I'm not entirely sure, but if you have a card that has defined stat line like this, it's like star, if you had a card that cared about the stat line of a creature, like in your deck or in your hand, which sometimes happens, or in your graveyard, does it have those stats everywhere or only on the battlefield? And if it only has them on the battlefield, does it count as a 0/0 otherwise? Because if that's the case, then the 3/2 could be relevant. But I'm honestly not sure, so I couldn't tell you. Dragontail Cutpurse. 2 mana, 2/2, Goblin Rogue. For generic and black and tap target creature. Reminder text, tap can be paid with 1 mana from a colored source. Well, that's not true. Otherwise, this card seems pretty reasonable, honestly. I like the idea of can be paid with 1 mana from a colored source. That's like a really cool thing. The idea of like, we don't care what color you use, but as long as you're using a colored mana, you're good. You can't use generic mana. And I like that a lot, actually. I was recently thinking about that effect. I was like, cards should do that sometime. That's weird. I really was thinking about that recently. I think I'm just going to re-roll this. I don't want to deal with the reminder text being broken like that, but whatever. Now I want to see it have an ability that's like, 2 and tap, or the same effect, but like costs like 5 mana or something. That'd be fun. Not a scout, not a bodyguard. The rare variety that works for both. Warcaller Elite is a 2 mana, 2/1 elf warrior. Okay, we got some elves, cool. For generic and black and tap, target creature gains first strike until end of turn. Which has the reminder text, any amount of damage it deals to a creature is enough to destroy that creature. He rides like the wind and walks like a cat. Actually, just addressing this card, it's a 2 mana, 2/1, then you spend 2 and tap it to give someone first strike. I think that's good. I think it's a good card. I don't want to deal with reminder text. I'm going to reroll things that have broken reminder text. Sorry. Nomad Enforcer is a 2 mana, 1/1 elemental shaman that has black, add black. So this is an effect that is either useless or broken, right? It's one of those things where it's just like, if you had something that cared about, like, whenever you gain, like, mana into your mana pool, do an effect, then it just goes infinite immediately, which isn't good. But I don't know if any effects like that even exist. And any other situation, it's 100% useless. So it's just like, it's just bad, no matter which of those cases you're in. The swirling smoke of smoldering forest wastelands are swept into the mists by its roaring flames. Winged Runekeeper. I feel like I've seen that name before. Like it happened recently, but had to get re-rolled or something. Winged Runekeeper is a 2 mana, 2/1 elf shaman with flying. When Winged Runekeeper enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 blue and green elf creature token with flying. I like this. I like this card a lot, actually. So it's a 2 mana, 2/1 with flying, which is okay. And then it creates a creature which immediately dies, so that triggers any death-related thing that you might have, and you're black, so you might. Plus, if you happen to have an effect like, I don't know, a creature that gives all of your creatures +1/+1, just passively, then the 0/0 elf creature token with flying doesn't die, and you've got an extra body. Like, I think that's actually pretty clean. I quite like this. No words. We speak the wind. The wind speaks the wind. Avacyn Kithkin Sage. Avacyn's a Kithkin Sage now? That's cool. Winged Runekeeper. The idea of this being like this, like, a black elf shaman that makes a green-blue elf that then dies, probably? Is this like someone who's like left the elves? It's like an elf that's not with the elves. I mean, don't get me wrong. Elves that are black is definitely a thing that exists. We've seen that in Magic. The elves are especially like really kind of creepy and like, you know, like Lorwyn and stuff. Shadowmoor, all that good stuff. But I'm picturing this as sort of like this elf that's left elven society, and the elf that they make here, they're just killing them. They bring someone and they kill it, because that's what's going to happen, and it triggers your death triggers. Like, plah, plah. Also, they have wings, I guess. Alright, cool. Finished rendering. Devouring Glaciers is a 5-mana black sorcery. Destroy target land. Its controller loses 3 life. Honestly, this is like maybe well costed. I think 5 mana for this effect is probably about correct. I like this card. I'm going to re-roll it because I've already decided no land removal, but still. Cool. I like it. The Smelting Vat blisters and burns. If there's a tongue of flame inside you... No, if there's a flame of tongue inside, you get the eyebrow of a fierce warrior. Doomwake, it's a good name, is a 5-mana sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. No, I mean, this is just an existing card that costs, I think, 3 mana? 3 mana, sack a creature, draw 2 cards? Maybe instant speed even? And this is 5 mana? Nah, I'm not into it. The Visions of Destruction was terrible. The fangs of Kor are tearing the sky to ribbons. And I mean, I've said this before, right? Like, you can definitely have cards that are just weaker than existing cards, but it's not exciting. Magma Flame is a 5-mana black sorcery. Magma Flame deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. I don't know what the going rate for 5 damage is, but this seems pretty bad to me. You will give the zombies your choice of between mindless appetites or unconscious mass. Lituya, Jungle Tracker. That's fun. That's fun. Herald's Heraldry. Yeah, if only Herald was spelled like Herald, that would be great. Herald's Heraldry is a 5-mana black sorcery. Reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. That's so bad. It'd be slightly better if they went to your graveyard even, because then you could like do graveyard shenanigans. Even then, for 5 mana, it's definitely not happening. Bark on, roar on, horn on. Soon we shall hear their anthem of war. Josvagia Saga. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. No clue. Shadowed Familiar is a 5-mana black sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. Okay. Foretell for 6 mana. During your turn, you may pay 2 mana and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. I can't imagine that ever being relevant. So it's just irrelevant. But otherwise, I think the card's fine. I think it functions. I don't know what the going rate for discarding 2 cards is, but yeah. What was the one we saw recently? Like, that I allowed? It was like, both players discard 2 cards? Was it just better than that in most situations? I'm okay with that. The word I dreaded the most was not escape, but awakening. Percival Thorn. Probably having too many discard effects in the same, like, set is probably bad, but there's like a bit of a discard payoff in black from Gods of Winter, so it's nice to have some fuel for it. Ascendant Soul is a 3-mana 3/2 vampire wizard. When Ascendant Soul dies, draw a card. Then you may return a non-land card from your graveyard to your hand. I like this card a lot. It's like, yeah, it's very fair, I think. You could even give this thing flying, and I think it would still be pretty okay. I don't think it'd be too broken with flying. I don't think it needs it either. I think it's in a very good spot. I see you fear me, yet you ignore my servants. It does say, so can it return itself? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it can return itself. If it can, I think it's still fine. You have to pay. It's not like it goes directly into the battlefield or anything. Like, yeah, cool. Ironmonger Berserker is a 5-mana, 4/3 Ogre Berserker. Nice. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, Ironmonger Berserker gets +2/+2 in a turn. I love this. I love an effect that cares about when you sacrifice something, instead of it being a sacrifice effect itself, right? Because then you get the benefit of the sacrifice effect, and then you also get this bonus. Like, those effects are so much fun. You don't see them too often, but I wish you'd see them more. It's just like, when this card, like, yeah. Like a card that's like, when this card gets sacrificed, do something, and then also has like, sacrifice this creature to do something. But you don't have to use that effect. You could also like, sacrifice it with a different spell or something. Like, it's cool. It's cool. I like it. I like black. The Empire is an iron fist. Our blood and bones will gladly yield to that fist. Oh, that's not good. Elysian Foss. Alter Guildmage. That was not great. Charging Core's Reavers is a 2-mana 2/1 enchantment creature zombie warrior. Are these like core zombies? Like some core died and now they're zombies and charging? I don't know what's up with the zombies in this set. Creatures your opponents control get +1/+1. Okay, this better be good. Tap. Put a charge counter on Charging Core's Reavers. That's cute. When Charging Core's Reaver dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. I mean, okay, so the tap ability does nothing, right? It doesn't care about having charge counters. Unfortunately, it just doesn't do anything. Cool, that's fine. It is a 2-mana 2/1, which is already not good. And it buffs your opponents. Creatures your opponents control get +1/+1. Cool. So you want the effect to be sort of like, okay, I'm into that as a downside because the card is otherwise overpowered. That's fun. But the only upside is that when it dies, it comes back. And that's, like, not terrible. Like, there's something that you get forever, right? You could sacrifice this and it would come back. But that also means you can't get rid of it if you don't want this effect. I think I'm going to keep this. Like, it does not go in many decks, and maybe it's even bad for a lot of decks. And that's cool. I think that's fun. Slaver, Maim, Crush, Feed. Tomb, Banshee, Prophecy. That's not a prophecy. I guess the one thing that's worth pointing out, though, is that the fact that it has a tap ability that doesn't do anything is sometimes relevant, right? Every once in a while, there's a situation where you're like, oh, dang, I'm being forced to attack or something. So if you tap your creature, it can't attack because it's tapped. So you can sometimes strategically use just like tap for no benefit as a benefit. Very rarely, but it does happen, so it's not absolutely nothing. Geist Fighter is a 5-mana 3/2 Goblin Rogue. That's fun. This Goblin Rogue fights Geists. They have first strike. Whenever Geist Fighter attacks, you may tap or untap target creature. This card's rad. It might be not good enough for 5 mana, but I think it probably is. I think I'd pay 5 mana for this. I like it. She strikes so swiftly, it is almost like a thought. That's actually really cool. I strike as swiftly as thinking. Thinking about attacks. Precursor Artifact. That sounds familiar. Is that a real spell? 4 mana, enchantment aura, enchant artifact. Ooh, you don't see that very often. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any artifacts, this could be difficult to, you know, to activate. It might not be playable in a lot of decks, but just gaining life every turn is strong. It just, like, you know, like, one time gain 8 life isn't that good, but 2 every turn for the rest of the game, triggering all of your life gain triggers. Yeah. Yeah. An artwork long seen in dreams, crafted from a Dawn Mage's first tears. Wild. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of today. I was hoping to get through all of black and red. I didn't really expect to get through all of it, but I was hoping. And, nope, that's the end of black. That is the end of black. I guess I should say that because you can't see what I'm seeing, which is that the next card's red. But, yeah, due to technical difficulties, just, we got really slowed down, so it's not going to happen, unfortunately. But, yeah, that's the black cards from Lords of the Rime. Soldiers of Core and Dragons. We saw some Core, we saw some Dragons. It's shaping up to be a good set. I am excited. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good night. Yeah, I feel like I need to do shorter outros. I think my outros are getting kind of long-winded these days, so probably better just to call the video. Anyway, that was a weird session. Kind of a mess, but oh well. You gotta do what you gotta do.